The aim of my talk would be to give you all a brief overview of the status of Holocaust education in India. You must be familiar with the working definition of Holocaust distortion by the era and the various forms that it can manifest in, be it Holocaust obfuscation, Holocaust theft, victim blaming, Holocaust revisionism, and Holocaust comparisons. But this situation becomes much more complex within the Indian scenario. Why? Because there doesn't exist any proper channel through which Holocaust education can be taught. And the indifference of Indian scenario can be attributed to four major reasons. The first is the alienation effect. The Holocaust is viewed as an event of a far-off land and is thus regarded as an alien event. So this distant geographical locale is thus accompanied by a lack of empathy. Second up, we have the overarching shadow of the Indian partition. So the Holocaust years were also the time when India was steeped in its freedom struggle. But the freedom revolts, they gained momentum, specifically during the years 1944 to 1947, when India was steeped in a battery of rebellions. And there were a lot of revolts ranging from Royal Indian Navy mutiny and the violent upsurges in many states of India, which were then accompanied by communal violence. So it's these events that often tend to overshadow the catastrophe of the Holocaust. And more so, the partition of India is also sometimes referred to as Indian Holocaust. And so we have books such as The Holocaust of Indian Partition, The Holocaust in the Raj, Raj meaning the rule, the British rule, and Bengal's Hindu Holocaust, which was a recent release of 2021. And then we also have, accompanying these books, we also have pictures in magazines that speak about India's secret Holocaust, the forgotten Holocaust, and the original Holocaust. They further accompany this notion of equating the Indian partition with the Holocaust, which, as we all know, going by the definition of IHRA, comes under Holocaust theft and Holocaust comparison. Next, the Holocaust is mentioned as a passing reference or as an oblique reference in the school textbooks and as an optional course in the universities. The National Council of Educational Research and Training, that is the NCERT, it is an autonomous body that is responsible for designing the curriculum from the classes 1st to 12th in all subjects. And they are the standard school textbooks prescribed throughout Indian schools, though some of the states have their own state board books. So in the class 9th social science textbook, it has an entire chapter of over 100 pages devoted to Nazism. But the word Holocaust, surprisingly, is mentioned only thrice on page 72, as you can see, out of which only one reference is its description and is described as the Nazi killing operations. The Holocaust thus has a diluted introduction. For instance, it's introduced as a genocidal war, and the definition of genocide is given as the killing of large section of people, not Jews. Then, in the textbooks, we also have Hitler presented as a powerful leader, passionate about restoring the dignity of the German nation. So as you can see, it says Hitler was a powerful speaker. His passion and words moved people, and he promised to build a strong nation. Now, one has to keep in mind that it's these students who then come to the university level And it's very difficult to debunk or deconstruct the notion of Hitler, which they've already acquired in school. Then in the textbook, you also have communists. They are described as Hitler's enemies who were packed off to concentration camps. And concentration camp is defined as, in the box, the new word description. It's described as a place where people were isolated and detained without due process of law. Likewise, the Delhi University, in its master's syllabi, has an optional course on violence and memory studies. But firstly, it depends on the number of students taking up that course. And secondly, out of all the 4 units, as you can see, only the first unit is given to teach the Holocaust. And that too only through one memoir of Primo Levi. Even the secondary readings avoid reference to any other Holocaust text. And lastly, I think the indifference towards Holocaust education and awareness is fueled by this overarching, empowering image of Adolf Hitler. The name Hitler is used as a brand name for someone who is very authoritative. The name Hitler is also used as a common trope in Bollywood movies and daily soaps to depict a commanding protagonist. However, you will be very surprised to note that the fascination for Hitler goes beyond this. And so, we have an ice cream brand named after him. When the owner of this Hitler ice cream stall was interviewed, he said that he had an uncle who was very authoritative, and so he just named his ice cream brand after him. We also have a cloth shop in one of the states of India, Ahmedabad. Likewise, when the cloth shop owner was interviewed, he said that his shop is named after his business partner's grandfather, who was nicknamed Hitler because he had acted out the part of Adolf Hitler in his college play. And the name stuck to him because the grandfather was very strict in his disposition. And when further confronted about his choice and decision, he said, and I quote, "None of the other people are complaining, only a few Jewish families. I have not hurt any sentiments of the majority Hindu community. If Hitler did something in Germany, is that our concern?" Such is the captivating image of the Hitler that in 2018, Mr. Siva Prasad, an Indian film actor turned politician, attended the parliament dressed up as Hitler in order to show his difference of opinion with the other members of the parliament. When he was questioned about his choice, he proudly said, "What I am doing will grab attention and make people think." There also exists a pool parlor called Hitler's Den. And there is a cafe in Mumbai named Hitler's Cross. The admiration for Hitler is also depicted on car stickers with labels of Schutzstaffel and the images of him. Not only this, there exists a website called Colorpur that sells Hitler merchandise. And apart from t-shirts, jewelry boxes, keychains, and locks, the best-selling ones are the cover cases for all brands of cell phones, especially iPhones. The Amazon India, Flipkart, and IndiaMart even has Hitler floor cleaners and Hitler germ fighter skincare, available, as you can see, in 3 distinct flavors and scents. The sales of Mein Kampf have shown a steady rise in Indian subcontinent. In 2011, It was the #1 best-selling book on Amazon India. Out of the 22 official languages of India, Mein Kampf has been translated into 14 languages, the most popular one being in Hindi, the national language of India. In 2021 alone, 1,000 copies were sold. And if this is not enough, Hitler comic books have made their way in bookshops, where they are placed along with famous personalities of India, as well as characters from sacred texts. If we probe deep, one of the reasons behind this Hitler mania or the Hitler cult that exists is the belief among the Indian nationalists. They harbor the notion that Hitler wholeheartedly extended his support to the Indian freedom struggle, which in reality is not the case. So, and this notion that Hitler wholeheartedly extended his support to the Indian freedom struggle is based on a few things. For instance, a friendly handshake between Hitler and a freedom fighter, Subhash Chandra Bose. And secondly, on epistolary exchange between Gandhi is called the father of the Indian nation, and Hitler. So while there are records which authenticate that Gandhi wrote 2 letters to the Führer, but little is known about the fate of those letters. And as you can see, the first letter is dated in July 1939, and the other one after the World War has begun in 1940. And both the letters are written to support humanity, urging Hitler not to indulge in atrocities, because Gandhi himself was an advocate of nonviolence. The most accurate guess about the fate of these letters is that it never reached Hitler, because they were intercepted by the British government ruling India at that time. In August 2021, Vaibhav Purandare, a journalist and historian, published his book Hitler and India, that debunks the notion of Hitler being friends with the Indian leaders. For instance, he mentions how in 1936, while addressing a political rally in Munich, Hitler said that Indians could not even walk properly, and it was the British who taught them how to walk. So his book uncovers the bitter truth of Hitler, and it mentions how Hitler was, from its onset, abusive towards India and dismissive of its demand for freedom. It's the very first book that examines of what India meant to a figure who, in a very perplexing paradox, remains quite a sensation in the country. And adding to the Holocaust distortion are some recent events that surfaced on social media. The first is the movie Kashmir Files. Kashmir, as you know, is a state of India. So Kashmir Files, the movie was released in 2021, and it pivots around the leaving of Kashmiri Hindus from the state of Kashmir to the other parts of India. So when an Israeli director called it vulgar, he was immediately attacked by saying that if this is vulgar, so is the Holocaust. If you deny this, we can also deny the Holocaust. So denying this movie is akin to denying the Holocaust. Next, we have this podcast from the social media influencer Ranveer. In one of his podcasts on World War II, he is seen saying that Hitler was definitely an evil man to be, but who isn't? And then the discussion of the podcast meanders around other notions that Churchill was even more sinister than Hitler because he killed more Indians than Hitler killed Jews. Next, there was this movie last year, which was released last year. It's called Bawal, and it's the first Bollywood movie which has the backdrop of Holocaust. So in one of the instances in the movie, the protagonist is seen saying, and you can see that the protagonist is looking at the image of Hitler with his own image reflecting in his face. And then he utters this dialogue. We all are like Hitlers, aren't we? So we all have something like Hitler within us. Isn't that so? So you see, he's completely unaware of the legacy of that name. And then there are other instances where even the Hindu epic Mahabharata is compared to the Holocaust, with discussions centering around statistical data. That if Hitler's Holocaust killed 6 million Jews, there are much more than that killed in Mahabharata. Mahabharata is an epic text. So you see that we can see this overarching, empowering image of Hitler. It's fueled by ignorance and indifference. And what is surprising is that nothing much is being done to avert this perception. People continue to hail his name, ignorant of his murderous legacy, and they're just happy that branding their products after his name garners massive attention. And with this, I conclude my talk, and I'm happy to answer any questions.